So coming in this race, I had a pretty bad relationship with the marathon distance. I'd blown up in Tokyo last year and in Valencia just past. I suffered quite a bit. Back half of that race, I said to myself that maybe the marathon isn't for me. But I knew that was partly the ego talking and emotion at the time.
10k, 41:35.
I had quite a bit of anxiety about racing the 42 kilometers again.
30k? Yeah. Feeling great. Time to race.
The last two didn't go to plan.
Left.
And I knew that I did have a lot more to give. So part of me wanted to put that right. Still don't know how I feel about wearing half tights in the gym.
Session done, even though that was on the treadmill. In comparison to like the marathon pace session that I done on the Tuesday before Valencia, the marathon pace felt so hard. I was having to work quite a bit, whereas, like I said, it was on the treadmill a wee bit easier, but I was running faster than marathon pace there and it felt at least 5 times easier. Like it felt so easy. Like I was completely chilling, so that's a great sign. Although I'm not going to speak too soon. I think the body's in good shape at the minute and such a massive difference.
That is the post mini workout meal. And some dragon fruit. I already had half of this, I couldn't wait. Oh, and you can't forget the absolute goat. So I wasn't even really planning to race Seoul Marathon. About 7 weeks out, I seen that they made a few bibs available and I thought that it's an excuse to go to South Korea with a couple of mates, and really the marathon was just going to be a bit of a side quest.
11:30 p.m. and the flight's just been delayed, so the blue light blocking glasses are on. Also the hat to stop them overhead lights disrupting the circadian rhythm.
Don't enjoy these red-eye flights so much, but we are hoping to get a couple of hours kept. The AirPod Max, best purchase I've made for travelling, because I don't like to listen to people, especially not screaming babies. These do a perfect job of blocking out basically every single sound, especially on flights. So would recommend. And with 7 weeks to go, we started to put a wee bit more of a focus on it. Even if I was going to run it for fun, there still needed to be a bit of specificity for that distance. Some of the numbers that I was putting up in training, the heart rate data that I was seeing, the paces that I was experiencing in the threshold sessions that I was doing was quite promising, and it gave me a decent bit of hope. And it also made me sort of pivot and change the sort of goal from, you know, just finishing and treating it as a fun run to, you know, we're actually in quite good shape here. And we did hit a bit of a roadblock. With 5 weeks to go, I had an infection on my leg called cellulitis. Honestly, you couldn't write it. Everything was flying. And then next thing you know, I can barely walk and I'm running about with a leg like Bilbo Baggins. So I went to the doctor, they gave me antibiotics, was told to stay at home and keep the leg up, which, if you know me, is an absolute nightmare for me to do. We got a couple of light upper body sessions in towards the end of the week, and finally it started to respond to the antibiotics. Frustrating week, but not the end of the world. It was probably one of the best things that happened to me, because after that week, I got straight back into normal training and straight back to like 100k a week, and I was feeling better than ever. So maybe that was a blessing. But from there was 4 weeks to go, and we started to do a bit more marathon specific work with just extending some of the threshold work that I've been doing. So instead of 3 times 10 minutes, I was pushing that to like 15. And then just doing a wee bit more work in some of the long runs in them sessions. I was feeling so good and I was recovering well. My sleep had never been better, but in my head I knew that I needed a win in this race, so I was always going to start a bit conservatively. You know, it's very easy to get carried away, and the marathon is a long way. Even if the pace feels super easy, questions are going to be asked in the back half of the race. So I landed in South Korea, took the overnight flight, landed on Wednesday morning.
Welcome to South Korea, baby.
Spent some time exploring the city, met up with some friends, was running a bit, eating some local delicacies, and we have landed in Seoul. Not a great sleep on the flight, but that was to be expected. I was on the bus from the airport to my accommodation and I was just drifting in there to sleep, so now we're caffeinating up. Hojicha latte, double espresso on the side. It is currently 11:14, so caffeine load until probably 12 or so, and then just try and stay awake so that I can go to sleep tonight, get the circadian rhythm in check.
That was an absolutely smashing feed, just what the doctor ordered, and now we're just taking a bit of a dander. Some very questionable choices, but also some very tempting ones. We are on the hunt for a dessert.
At this point, a couple of days out, there was still a bit of anxiety in my head about the full distance, because the last 2 races did not go to plan. I crawled across the finish line, especially in Valencia. I Was worried about this happening again. We completely dialed things in, carb loaded very, very well. I think I hit 950 grams of carbs 2 days out and 1,000 grams of carbs the day prior.
Good morning. It is Saturday at 7:30 a.m. We are beginning a heavy day of carbs. So I'll show you what I've got here. The classic white rice, bit of salt, banana that's not so finely sliced, and then strawberry jam and a Pocari Sweat. This together is all in around 150 grams of carbs. I'll put the exact screenshot above. So the plan is to eat this, bit of a shakeout run, and then probably eat something very similar straight after. Minimal fats, easy to digest carbs, and today that's going to be the theme. Lots of rice, some bread, liquid carbs, Gatorade, Powerade, Pocari Sweat, and we're going to try and hit like 850 grams of carbs, and then it's race day tomorrow.
Top secret expo.
Yeah, this is so secret. Went to the expo and the bid pickup on Friday, and from there then it was time to focus. There was less baked goods, there was less local food, and it was more trying to just rein in it a bit.
Everyone sees us and they think we're elite athletes. They're like, what time are you going for, man? Simon's like, yeah, I'm gonna pace in for sub 3, and they're like, sub 3? The carb load continues in the queue for UVU flagship store. 300 grams of rice, and we have trusty maple syrup at hand. Don't forget the salt. Carb count at the minute is 400 grams, 430 grams after this, and it's 1:30 p.m. So we're on target. Good stuff.
Trying to rest up as much as possible, which is difficult because you're in a place like that. Also, it's kind of a bit of a holiday, so you're trying to find that balance between resting and trying to stay off the feet, but also, you know, not being a boring cunt and still being able to see the city and not just locking myself in the apartment. So the race was starting at 7:30, so it was an early start, and the goal was wake up 3 hours before the start, no meal in.
2.5 hours to the start. We are going in hard on 100 grams of carbs worth of rice, banana jam, maple syrup, black coffee to wash it down, and then we get the toilet and then think about making our way to the start. I'm excited, the race. Throw away clothes because it is going to be Baltic before we start. Nearly good to go.
There was a lot less pressure on me going into the race. I didn't have a massive build. I was a lot less stressed. I think that meant that I was able to enjoy the training block and go to South Korea without so much pressure, knowing that I'm going to go out there, have some fun, really race it off feel, because I needed to get a win under the belt.
Yeah, buddy. Was that like titty? Ready to stop it a bit, only in the end. Let's just call it a hard knock run.
The first 30k felt so controlled. We averaged like 407 per k. You know, it was almost boring up to that point.
5k split 20, 31. 10k 41, 35. Chill, baby. The real challenge is yet to come. How are you feeling, man? Feeling good. Halfway. 127.40. I'm feeling good. Like we should. Yeah.
Had to keep the ego in check and I had to stay disciplined. But when I hit the 30-kilometer mark, it was a case that I'm feeling very good here, and let's empty the tank and see what's there for the last 12k.
30k? Yeah. Feeling great. 160 pulse. Time to race.
In the past, I've probably tried to prove something in the first half of the race, and it made me realise that the marathon is won in the second half, really, and that it rewards patience and it rewards having discipline in the early stages of the race.
Left. Come on!
It was such a nice experience being able to finish strong and pass so many people who were struggling quite a bit.
That was fun. Most enjoyable race. Yeah, PB. Oh, it was so fun just passing people at the end.
Yeah. It's better when you pace it the right way, right?
Oh, paced, perfect.
when you run a 12-minute PB and when you needed a win under the belt after the experience in Valencia and Tokyo last year, I was quite content with it and super happy with the performance. The goal was to stay controlled, the goal was to try and negative split it, and the goal was to finish strong. I probably surprised myself a bit. Before the race, I did think that I was probably capable of running like 253, 255. Again, there was some questions of the durability because I hadn't done so many long runs and I didn't have a massive build, but coming in at 251.09 with a bit more to give was a big confidence boost. And could I have ran faster? Maybe not. Again, the line is so fine where you push the intensity, and even running 5 or 10 seconds quicker for the first 10, 20, 30k, that could have added a bit more fatigue, and I might have then felt the effects of that in the end. It's such fine margins, but it's the first time I've finished strong in a marathon, and now I have a much better relationship with that distance, and it gives me a lot of confidence, you know. And it just goes to show you that it's not the few weeks before the race that make the difference, it's the months and months and months and the block on top of block on top of block that's stacked that moves the needle. I obviously absorbed some of the fitness from the Valencia block and just the last 6, 8, 9, 10 months of training that are now starting to come to the table. So what changed going into this marathon in comparison to Valencia? I think first of all, I was a lot less stressed going into it. That's physically and mentally. Maybe I pushed a wee bit too hard in the Valencia build. Maybe it was a bit too long. Maybe I burned a few too many matches in some of the big workouts and just came in a bit fatigued. The second thing is I was a lot leaner. I think I raced Valencia at like 82 kg and I think I was around 77.5 for Seoul. So for sure that made a massive difference. And overall, I think my training in the lead up, because there was less pressure, because there was less logistics, because I wasn't even planning the race until like 6-7 weeks out, my sessions were a lot more controlled. Like, they weren't balls to the wall sessions. I was finishing a lot of my threshold sessions with still quite a bit to give. I think I was just enjoying things a bit more. Not that I wasn't before Valencia, but I think not putting myself under so much pressure with, this is the time I'm trying to run, this is the time I'm going to run. And that's not to say that I'm not going to push for aggressive time goals in the future or put them online, because that's something that I stand by. I didn't regret going for the sub 250 in Valencia. I think I just needed a win under my belt, and I needed to learn a bit more about what my body can tolerate in training, but also the pace during the run, and understand how to pace that correctly, which I think was something that I done close to a T. And it just goes to show you, like, when something doesn't go your way and when it feels that like everything is against you. And like after Valencia Marathon, I ran 3:26. It was quite hard to take, and after that I said maybe the marathon distance isn't for me. And then to go a few months later and run 2:51.09 with way more control, it's a nice feeling finishing the race positively as opposed to fighting serious battles. So already looking forward to the next one. I know that there is a lot more there, so now it's about recovering for the next couple of days. Thanks for tuning in, lads. I appreciate you watching. A big step forward taken. Not perfect, but at least it's progress. And now it's about building towards the next one and stacking another block. See you in the next one.